this division in Ontario. Now, basically, this is the organization which would send people, officers to your establishment to make sure you're following the regulations. And if you are seen in violation, they can actually um, suspend your license, give you fines. So the officers who actually come to audit you from into your bar or your restaurant, they are the officers of OGCA, which is um, Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario. So, with that said, we had already discussed about this. To serve alcohol, you need to be at least minimum 19 years of age. But to be served, you have to be 19 years of age. But in order to be able to serve, you have to be 18 years. Now, just remember, if you leave the province and go somewhere else, the rules change because every province has a different regulation. Okay, so Ontario, it is 19, doesn't mean it's in all the provinces. In certain provinces, the legal age to actually consume alcohol is 18. And this slide actually talks about that. So all the green provinces, including Alberta, the regulation to, here, I'll make it smaller so you can see it. The regulation to drink or consume alcohol is 18 years of old. Even in Quebec, it's 18. Typically, other places it's 19. But in certain provinces, 18. And if you see Manitoba, then Manitoba is depending on which part and how it is. So they all have different regulations. Now, allowing an establishment to sell and serve alcohol under specific circumstances. So the endorsement basically means a permission. OGCO, so Alcohol Gaming Commission of Ontario, has to basically endorse your establishment to sell and serve alcohol. And they are based on different types. So if you have a brew, then they basically give you license to serve any brew. If you have a wine, so they give you a wine pub endorsement. If you are a caterer, let's say you're a caterer who caters, then you have a different endorsement. So depending on what your establishment is, you get the different endorsements. The first one, brew pub, is basically a typical bar. A wine pub is typically places which only sell wines. And then there are certain places, like it says on the seventh one, bring your own alcohol. So BYOW, or bring your own wine endorsement. So these are the different endorsement which they give. Typically, the endorsement depends on what the establishments applies for. When you have a hotel also has room service. So, and then they have a bar. So in order to do that, you need to get a brew pub endorsement for the bar. And then in order to sell alcohol in the rooms, you need to have a room service endorsement. Same with mini bars. You guys must have heard about mini bars, or they have fridges in the rooms which are stocked with alcohol. So very similar. In order to have that in the room, you need to get that particular endorsement. You can't just go and put a mini bar inside the room. So these are the different endorsements which are given by the Alcohol and Gaming Commission. Alcohol and Gaming Commission also decides the hours of operations which you can work with. You cannot serve alcohol in Ontario, anywhere in Ontario, unless only after 9 o'clock. From 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. are the only times you're allowed to serve alcohol in Ontario. Or on New Year's Eve, it is 9 a.m. to till 3 a.m., which means if somebody wants to consume alcohol or buy alcohol from your establishment, yours is a breakfast restaurant, and somebody says, hey, it's a breakfast restaurant, it's 8 in the morning, I would like to have a Caesar. And people do drink Caesar with breakfast, right? You cannot do that unless it's 9 a.m. in the province of Ontario. Of course, establishments have different rules. Some establishments have their own rule that they will not serve till 11 o'clock. But the provincial rule is 9 o'clock. Unless it's 9 a.m. in the morning, you cannot. And after 2 o'clock, you can't. And the end time is basically not the time when the patron places the order. And 2 a.m. is the time when you can actually serve the last drink. So if somebody comes and says, "Hey, can I get a drink?" and it's 2:01, you cannot serve the drink. And these rules are extremely stringent, where if you are caught not following them, you might get a hefty fine and you could also lose your liquor license. So they don't go by our timings where, oh, it's okay, in 5 minutes, not a big deal. No, 2 a.m. means 2 a.m. If it's 2:01, then you're not allowed to serve alcohol. Legal responsibilities. Any establishment which is serving alcohol can be brought into a civil litigation. So when you're serving alcohol, that is the big important reason why everybody should take that serve safe training. Because if you do not have a serve safe training, you will not be able to understand what are the potential risks and the liabilities which can come with selling and serving alcohol. So once you take the serve safe, uh, you will be much aware about all these different liabilities. There are different liabilities which can arise when server is not careful and he or she is over serving, and that particular patron comes with meet with an accident because of drinking on your property. The other liability could also be a potential responsibility for payment of damages. What this particular liability states is in case uh, somebody drinks alcohol and basically there's a potential damage, like they crash the car and do something to damage somebody's property, then the server or the establishment could be responsible for payment of these damages. Third is the common law. Common law, what it means is if I bring a patron to your establishment and I buy the drinks from you and serve it to my friend, and my friend gets drunk and goes out and meets with an accident, then the establishment or the bartender or server is liable to pay for the damages. So even though you did not serve my friend directly, the common law says because I bought the drinks from you and served it to my friend in your establishment, you are responsible for any damages caused to him. Very similarly, so again, let's go over this all over again. Civil liability. When a server or establishment is not careful in stopping harm or injury to the guest. What this particular thing means is, let's say somebody gets drunk, you are basically liable for their well-being. So somebody's drunk and you allow them to start driving a car. They are not in their senses, but you were, and you allowed them to drive a car. So you are the person who did not stop them from harming themselves. So basically, you can be sued for that. The potential responsibility of payment damages is if they go out and crash somewhere or crash somebody else's property, then you are liable for it. And the third one talks about common law, where if one person buys a drink from you or you serve a person and that person gives it to somebody else, you are responsible for that somebody else who drank or got drunk on your property and met with an accident. These civil liabilities can arise from three ways. The first one is under the provision of Liquor License Act. So LLA has already established you cannot serve somebody who's under the age of 19. You cannot serve after 2 a.m. You have to stop serving at a certain point. Second is by the court finding of negligence or lack of duty of care. Now, what does duty of care means? And we'll talk about that in the next two slides. And the third one is the Occupiers Liability Act. So let's go down and talk about this point 2 and point 3, which is duty of care and occupier's liability. Okay, so what does duty of care means? Negligence or duty of care, typically what it means is your failure to use care that a reasonable and cautious and careful person would use under similar circumstances. So duty of care means if somebody is drunk and he is not under control, and you let that person, you did not take steps to stop that person from, getting into his car, or you let him loose and he meets with an accident. So basically, if you don't take steps to control the safety of that guest once he's intoxicated, then you can be sued under negligence on duty of care. They've also given you example. Duty of care is owed by a server to not to serve an intoxicated person. Once a guest is intoxicated, the duty of care is to protect them from dangers that relate to the guest intoxication. So you are responsible. If somebody gets, not only are you responsible for over serving, but you're also responsible if that person is drunk or not in their right senses in front of you, then you have to take sufficient steps to stop them from harming themselves or harming others. So that is basically the negligence or duty of care. Occupier's liability. What is occupier's liability? Basically, if something was to happen to a patron uh, at your property because of the condition, there's poor lighting, or the floor is not clean, or it's wet, or your staff or your guest in your property, let's say a guest in your property got drunk, and because of this over drinking, he got with a fight with somebody and injured the person. So then that is occupier's liability. So basically, this happened on your property, so you are liable for anything which happens on your premises. That's what the proper occupier's liability states. Your rights. So your right, your means you as a bartender, you as a owner, you as a supervisor. Your rights are you can actually deny entry to a person who's intoxicated to come into your bar. You have the right to deny underage person to come inside your bar. If somebody is being aggressive, violent, disruptive, you can actually stop people from coming into your bar. And if you're over the capacity, then you can stop people from coming into your bar. Who you cannot deny entry is the AGCO inspectors or police, fire marshal, health inspector, or any government inspector who wants to come inside on the job to basically audit your property. These are the people you cannot refuse entry to, but others you can, depending on their state. Now, who you can throw out, right, to eject guest. Eject means throwing them out of your property. So you have the right to eject guests from your property, from your bar, or the place where they're drinking if they are under the age of 19. So anybody who's a minor can be asked to leave as soon as you come to know they are under the age. A guest has, if there's a guest and he's previously being not allowed or barred from coming to your property, then yes, you can, and he tries to visit again, then yes, you can bar him or stop him or eject him if he has come inside. Let's say a guest who you asked this guest to leave, and he comes back the same day and you see him inside your bar, you have the right to eject him. And a person according to condition on license is not permitted to be there on premises for any lawful reason. So basically, anybody who comes to your bar and you find them inside your bar with the intention of fighting, gambling, prostitution, or just being noisy, rowdy, disturbing other patrons, you can actually have them leave your bar. This concept of standard drink is very important. You guys should definitely listen to this. So many times people go to the bar and say, oh, you know what? I don't want to drink too much. I'll just have a beer. Or somebody says, oh, no, I'm not going to drink whiskey today. I think I'll just go with a glass of wine. So it's important that all these drinks have a mixed water in them, right? None of these drinks are pure alcohol. Whiskey is 40% alcohol, volume by volume. So what it means is there is 40% alcohol and the remaining is the dilution, which is water. Wine is 12% alcohol. 12% of the alcohol is wine, pure alcohol, and the remaining is basically the water content of it. And same with beer. Beer by volume is 5% alcohol. So 5% of the beer is actual alcohol, and the remaining is basically dilution or water. Now, it's important to understand that a 12 ounce of beer, a 5 ounce of wine, and basically a mixed drink, which has 1 ounce of alcohol, they all have the same amount of alcohol. When I say that, what I'm trying to say is if you have a 12-ounce beer or a glass of wine or a spirit in a like a rum and coke, they all have the same amount of pure alcohol. Okay, just because of their dilution, people call it 5%, 12%, 40%. But if you look at the pure alcohol, they all have that exactly 1 ounce or approximately that 1 ounce of pure alcohol. So when people say, oh no, I'm not going to drink whiskey today, I don't want to get drunk, I'd rather drink a beer. What they're basically, they think they're not drinking the same alcohol, but if you really look at it, they're drinking the same amount of alcohol because beer is 12 ounces. Out of 12 ounce, 5%, which is 1 ounce, is alcohol. In in a wine, basically you're drinking in a 5 ounce of wine, 12% is alcohol. So really the amount of pure alcohol in there is the same. And what does get us drunk? The pure alcohol. It's not the derivatives or the mix or the mixing agents. What really gets us drunk is the pure alcohol. So it's a myth when people say, oh no, I'm not going to have this, I'll have this. At the end of the day, it all depends on how much pure alcohol you're consuming. So remember this concept not only when you're drinking yourself, but also when you're serving others. BAC means blood alcohol content. When police basically stop you and they want to measure how much drunk are you, they measure that in terms of blood alcohol, BAC. Basically, BAC means blood alcohol concentration. What it does is basically measures the amount of alcohol, which is the amount of alcohol or the amount of alcoholic concentration in your bloodstream. That is what they are trying to find out. So basically, when the higher the alcohol concentration in your blood, obviously the higher is your your punitive damages or your punishment. In basically you're allowed to in Ontario, if your blood alcohol content is over a certain amount, then you can face not only fines but also suspension of license, and on depending on how much drunk or how much alcohol concentration your blood has, you could even fail, you can even get jail time. So BAC means blood alcohol concentration, and basically this is something which is measured when you get pulled over by a police if you're driving under the influence, or let's say you commit a crime and the police catch you. They will first try to see what is your blood alcohol concentration level, and that way they know how much you are drunk, and then the other things follow, the bad news follows after that. The one way to determine the effects of alcohol on your guest is basically looking at the blood alcohol chart. So going down, if you guys all understand what blood alcohol concentration means, again, it is the amount of alcohol which is carried in your bloodstream. The more you drink, the higher is your BAC level. Okay. Now, this is a chart. I don't think you need to learn this chart, but this is exactly what a chart looks like. And basically what if you are green is you are on the verge of getting drunk, yellow means you're slightly impaired, and red is you're legally intoxicated. So we'll come back to this slide. Let's go first to the next ones and then we'll come back to this. So basically, it's very important to understand, and it's really important because if you guys drink, or you are a manager or supervisor who's serving alcohol, these are certain things you need to know. Okay. So BAC, the factors that actually affect your blood alcohol content. The first one is body size. The smaller the body size, the higher the BAC, which is very logical, right? Because if you're drinking 3 ounces of alcohol, if your body is small, obviously the the concentration of alcohol in your blood is going to be higher, right? Because the alcohol has less surface area to cover. Very similar, people with higher body fat, okay, people with a lot of body fat have a higher BAC. So if a skinny guy was to start drinking and a guy with a higher body fat starts drinking, then the person with a higher body fat will have a higher blood alcohol content than the person who is skinny and has lower body fat. These are some of the things which are very important when serving alcohol because you need to know how alcohol is going to affect the other person. Women tend to have typically, okay, now you have to understand it says women tend to have higher proportion of fatty tissue compared to men of the same weight. It's not saying women are fat or men are not. What it's saying is body structure of a woman, women have more fatty tissues in your body than a male guy. A male guy generally has more, if you're same weight, you have more muscle mass. Women have more fat mass. What happens is because of this particular scenario, women and men who have the same exact body weight, women tend to get drunk faster or have a higher blood alcohol concentration than the men of the same weight because they have the higher fat. So basically, fat, more the fat, body fat, the more the BAC level. More proteins is less BAC level. That's why when you are consuming alcohol, people, the server should, and or if let's say you're serving alcohol or somebody's drinking alcohol, they try to go more into eating proteins than fats. Like they should be eating chicken, they should be eating beef, because the more the protein which goes in your body, it slows down the absorption of alcohol, and then the alcohol stays in your stomach for a longer time. Okay, whereas fat helps push the alcohol into the bloodstream. Anyways, next point: physical health, fitness, and age. A healthy, less body fat has lower BAC. An older, unfit would have a higher BAC. So we talked about body fat. Same with somebody who's a healthy body will have a low BAC content. Somebody who's unhealthy, somebody who's older will have more BAC content just as they increase in weight or increase in water weight. How fast a BAC rises also depends on these things. Time between two drinks, right? So if you have one drink after the other quickly, then obviously you're going to have more BAC. It's a very logical thinking. Tolerance. If you realize some people get drunk slower than the others. Some people have a capacity, which we call it, saying, oh, this guy can drink a lot. He has a good capacity. That capacity in English is called tolerance. The more experienced drinker, they show less visible signs of blood alcohol concentration. However, the blood alcohol concentration is not any different. It can still be the same. So basically, people who are tolerant have show, because they've been so used to drinking, they show less symptoms of of being drunk, but that does not mean they have less BAC. It's very important to understand. So tomorrow your friend says, oh, I'm fine, I look at me, I'm fine. Even though they are tolerant because they are experienced drinkers, they would still have the same blood alcohol content or concentration as somebody of the same weight who's a non-drinker. Okay, so the alcohol concentration doesn't change, just your capacity of withhold symptoms change. You are mandated to serve food while consuming alcohol, so you're not allowed to just drink. You have to get some kind of food. And consumption of food and alcohol basically together decreases the effect of alcohol. So if somebody who's drinking, you should always be having food with it, or small meal or some snacks. And finally, water, juice, and high protein food consumed during drinking will also absorb and hold alcohol in your stomach for a longer time and slow down the rate of absorption. So basically, if I'm drinking neat, let's say I take a scotch and I start drinking straight up, that's going to make my blood alcohol content higher because the absorption is going to be faster. While if I have a drink with water or juice or high protein, because it's mixed with something, it's going to slow down the absorption. The alcohol is going to get mixed up with the food now, get diluted and stay in your stomach for a longer time, and hence slow down the rate of absorption in your bloodstream. So these are some of the things you need to understand if you are a person who's serving alcohol. The third is medication. A lot of time, some medication can increase the effect. Not all, but there are many medications which actually increase the effect of alcohol. So when you're drinking, you should, and if you're taking some medication, you should know what medication it is and what are the different effects on the medication. Finally, if a guest is sitting mingling with friends, drinking rate is slower. People who drink straight from at the bar by themselves on a if you see they drink faster, but if you're drinking with a friend, you're talking, chit chatting. So these are some of the factors that affect your blood alcohol content. Signs of intoxication, I would like you guys to read it yourself and to understand the different signs of intoxication. So there are visible signs by which you can actually see and say that the person is drunk or intoxicated. They have a poor judgment, they lose self-control. And you guys know what self-control is, falling off, not being able to stand, make poor judgments, get drunk, start talking loudly, talk complaining, start buying drinks for others, hitting on women. So these are some of the ways of looking at somebody's behavior who's intoxicated. Uh, they also, some of them you must have seen, when they get drunk, they're like, oh, I can drive. I'm more cautious. I have a reason why. Some of these people they slow down and they're like, oh, I'm very careful when I'm drunk. I even concentrate better. Basically, these are the signs of intoxication. You should not let somebody who is drunk or showing visible signs of drinking allow them to drink. Coordination and balance, how they stand, how they are moving, walking. Read it in your time because it's an important thing to know the different signs of intoxication. I would really want you guys to read through this before your test so you understand. Now, this is the traffic light system. Even today, when somebody is drinking or somebody's drunk and you want to shut them off, the bartenders are trained in in their exam or in their serve safe to identify behaviors and their responses by the color method, which is green means people are okay, nothing wrong. Yellow means, okay, it's time. The guy is slowly showing symptoms of drunk. And red means absolutely stop this guy. You cannot serve this guy anymore. So in short, basically, a guest behavior can be considered green if he is, nice, normal, happy, talkative, the way you are when you first go to a bar. Yeah. Responses, guest has likely had little or nothing. Guest can be safely served. Then yellow. Yellow means, after having a couple of drinks, depending on your tolerance, if you have seen some people start showing this, they start drinking faster, they are louder, they are laughing, they are funny, they are talking, making jokes, they're trying to go on the other side on somebody else's table to talk to them. They're very social. So you can see these effects. Guest has begun to show the effects of alcohol, and then it's time to take caution and slowly slow down the alcohol service or even stop serving these particular people alcohol because you really don't want to get anybody into the red zone, because red zone means they can actually not only they are unsafe for themselves, but they can also, let's say they're driving and they can kill somebody else, right? So they are a harm to both themselves and others. However, when you figure out somebody's in the red zone, which is they're getting drunk, now they're aggressive. You say, hey, no more drinks for you, and they get really upset. You crazy, and they start like slurring and swearing. Now you know these people are actually intoxicated. They have glassy eyes. You know what glassy? If you guys don't know what glassy eyes means, glassy eyes means you know how when somebody starts staring and they have this teary looking eye when they're focused on just one direction, glassy, like they're staring at you. That's called a glassy eye. So when people start getting this glassy eye, arguing, debating, that's it's time to actually stop completely, because the guest has already had too much, or sometimes the guest comes to your bar already intoxicated because they got kicked out of some other bar. Now they come to your bar and they, hey, can I get a drink? And now they've already been kicked out somewhere else and that they are here because the other bar didn't serve them. If you know they are intoxicated, you're not serving them, no matter what happens. Value of communication using the traffic light system. Basically, this system allows you, your coworkers are made aware of your problem. Now, the way with this system works, this is very important how you handle this also. Okay. So let's say you are in a situation where you have to stop somebody, or you are in the yellow zone. You always follow this model. If your coworkers are made aware of the problem, you can make sure that there is a backup available if needed. So when somebody's getting to the point, you're serving them and they're getting drunk, you need to tell your coworkers or your other bartender, hey, you know what, can you make sure you don't leave this premise without letting me know, because this guy's getting drunk, there might be a problem. So they are ready to help you if there's a problem. Basically, it prevents guests from undermining your actions by trying to get served by other staff members. So basically, the reason you communicate this to your fellow workers or your manager or somebody else is because, let's say you say no to them, then they get up from their table and go to a bar and the bartender serves them. That's like undermining your actions, right? So by making sure you communicate this to your other bartenders or your fellow servers, it also ensures that nobody's going to do this, nobody's going to serve them. Everybody's going to be on the same page. The third reason it's important to communicate to your fellow workers that somebody's getting drunk, or you are going to stop them soon from drinking, or you're going to cut them off, is in case something was to happen, at least you have a witness if there's a legal situation, right? You can, let's say you're going on a break, then your coworker could actually monitor this particular person. And the last one is a house policy should help set a goal towards achieving responsible alcohol drinking. And typically what this is saying is the importance of communication is, even as a manager of a bar or a server, there should be a house policy, and that should be adhered to very strictly. Where if somebody is showing certain signs of intoxication, then absolutely no drinking. And this particular communication should be also posted as signage in your bar, where everybody's made aware of what your policy is for responsible alcohol service and responsible alcohol drinking. So again, this is basically just the importance of communication, and communication can be you communicating to your peers about somebody getting drunk. It also talks about communication which your manager or your supervisor is putting for you in writing. Okay. Tips for preventing intoxication. Like we said earlier, when somebody is drinking, you should always offer them food. If somebody is getting drunk, you definitely should offer them food because it'll slow down the absorption of the alcohol which is now in their body. Salty food and spicy food accelerates the absorption of alcohol. It makes it faster. So do not offer people salty food or spicy food. A lot of times, bars serve popcorns and peanuts. Do not focus on these salty foods because that actually holds the water in your body and also the alcohol at the same time. So that's why it's not good to serve salty or spicy. Basically, best thing to serve is water, coffee, tea because these are alcohol-free beverages. And basically, when you drink these things, it dilutes the alcohol in your body, in your stomach, and the absorption rate slows down. Typically, people who are drinking directly or neat, you should offer them some kind of mixer with to drink with, like a water or something. Um, Many times at the end of the bar, when people know there is going to be a last call, a lot of time patrons order, "Hey, can I get 3 drinks?" And as you know, if the bar is closing at 2 o'clock and somebody orders at 1:45, "Hey, I know it's a last call. Can I get three beers?" And we have to shut the bar in about 45 minutes. So these people are going to have these 3 drinks in less than 45 minutes, which is going to get them drunk. So you should always make sure you're not serving more than 1 drink at a time, because by doing that, you're not just making the guest happy and making sure you're getting a big tip. But on the other side, it's a big liability. If this guy gets drunk, not in front of you, but goes out and the alcohol starts getting absorbed and gets drunk and meets with an accident, then you are liable for that particular accident. Do not go and force drinks on guests. Let them order it. Okay, that's what it says. And basically manage the buying of drinks. A lot of time people are happy and they want to buy drinks. "Hey, can you get me a round of drink? Can you get me a round of drink?" In the beginning, it's okay, but manage the number of drinks people are buying because a lot of times not everybody is used to alcohol. Some people do not have a very good tolerance. And when somebody forces them to drink 1, 2, 3 shots, the person who's buying might be okay because he's used to it, but the person who's drinking it might not be, and eventually, get drunk, meet with an accident. So you're very careful and manage the buying of rounds. And then slow the rate of service. Slow the rate of service means just slow your service. You think somebody's getting drunk, then slow the service. Don't keep offering them drinks again and again and again. This is the last slide, which talks about stopping service. How do you stop service? We talked about this earlier. If you find somebody intoxicated, first thing you're doing is communicate the decision to your coworkers, because we already know your coworker can be a witness. They can be there to help you in case the guest gets out of control. They can monitor the situation. Always have a backup person. When you're talking to a guest who is intoxicated, you don't want to try to insult them in front of people saying, "Okay, no more drink, you're drunk." Seek privacy. Talk to them privately, slowly, so they don't feel offended. Because the last thing people feel offended is, "Oh, he's shutting me off because he thinks I'm drunk." "Oh, what the hell? How can you stop me?" So you want to be careful you don't hurt their sentiments. Watch your body language. So you want to be assertive, means positive, but don't be authoritative by undermining them. Tell them, "Sir, I'm so sorry, but I'll have to shut you off because I really care about your safety." Show concern for them. Show empathy for them. Instead of saying, "Okay, sir, I think you've been drunk too much. That's it. I can't serve you anymore." Be the nice guy. Show them empathy, "Sir. I think I have to shut you off because I really care about you and I don't want your police to stop you or ask you for any questions or ask you for your ID. So I know you're not drunk, maybe, but just I can't serve you anymore because you're showing signs of intoxication. I don't want you to get pulled over or harm yourself." And the guest starts arguing. Try to end the conversation. Try to talk to them slowly and privately. And if the guest says, "Come on, come on, can you still get me one?" You have to be firm. Once you say no, the answer is no. Nobody can change that decision, neither you nor your colleagues. Be firm on that decision. Avoid being judgmental. I hope you guys know what judgmental means. If everybody gets drunk once in a while. Don't be judgmental saying, oh, what an idiot. What is this guy? What's wrong with him? No, don't get judgmental. It's things happen. You want to make sure the most important thing for them is their safety. Know the steps to take.